Good evening. It is January 17th, 2023. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Here is your board president, Shelley Ryan.
Good evening, Dr. Choi. Thank you. In closed session, I'd like to report out that the Board of Education took unanimous action in closed session to approve the settlement agreement for student number 6924. The motion was made by Mrs. Gill, seconded by Mr. Chang, and the motion passed. It was 4 ayes and 1 absentee vote. I do need to announce that Mrs. Lam is unable to be here tonight. She sends her apologies. She had a personal obligation that she had to attend to. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to call the open session. And we're going to call to order the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, President Ryan. At this time, we would like to welcome up to the stage a 5th grade student leader from Valentine Elementary to lead the board in the flag salute tonight. Can we please welcome Summer Chen?
Microphone down.
I would like to extend a warm welcome to Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, President Ryan, distinguished board members, and all those in attendance tonight. My name is Summer Chen, and I'm a 5th grade Viking at Valentine Elementary School. I am joined here by my principal, Mrs. McAlpine, and my family. Ever since I began 5th grade at Valentine Elementary, I have realized that the older kids like me have been given special opportunities, such as participating in the yearbook cover contest and after-school band and orchestra. Recently, the 5th grade at Valentine and Carver attended the Arts Rock field trip at San Marino High School. It was a fun day because we got to explore VAPA, visual and performing arts, electives, and see the great programs available to all students. I most enjoyed the orchestra and choir sessions because they sounded really professional, and we got to join them and stand next to them as they sang and played their instruments. Another experience I enjoyed at Valentine was the Happy Hula Days winter concert. The younger children were adorable and the songs were catchy. It was particularly special for the 5th graders because we sang the song "Let There Be Peace on Earth," which is a tradition at Valentine that has been performed here for the past 3 decades. In October, at my last Valentine fair, I got to spend time with my best friend and eat shaved ice. Overall, I have really enjoyed the start of 5th grade, and I know the year 2023 will be just as exciting. I look forward to a lot more special events and activities at Valentine and eventually at Huntington Middle School. In March, the 5th graders have American Heritage Day, where we make butter, candles, and corn husk dolls like kids did during colonial times. I am also looking forward to the 5th grade band and orchestra performances as well. Next week, we will have our Lunar New Year celebration at Valentine School. To celebrate Lunar New Year, we will have an assembly and watch children from our school dance and perform in plays, including me, to celebrate Chinese culture. When I go to Huntington Middle School for 6th grade, I'm most excited about the one-week outdoor education trip with my entire grade and being able to pick an elective each year. This will be a difficult choice considering the fact that there are so many great options like choir, band, orchestra, art, robotics, journalism, and foreign language, just to name a few. In conclusion, I have really enjoyed my years at Valentine since there are so many great opportunities, but I'm eager to continue on to HMS where there are so many great programs to be excited about. Today, as I welcome you to the San Marino Unified School District Board meeting, I would like to pay respect to our country and our flag. Please join us as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand quietly and respectfully. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, by the way, we're very proud of you. I'd like to present you with this certificate of appreciation and get a photograph with you. So it's like, there's some this table. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Summer. All right. Well, this lady needs no introduction. It is my honor to introduce to you. We've had to change the agenda a little bit to accommodate, but I'd like to call up on the stage Congressperson Judy Chu.
Well, when I heard what happened here at this incredible comedy sport performance where the life of teacher Scott Barton was saved due to the heroism of so many people, I just had to come. Now, you couldn't write a better story than this. First of all, I just cannot believe that Mr. Barton is not only a physics and world history teacher, but also a comedian. Yeah. And so there he is right in the middle of his performance and making everybody laugh when he suffered a cardiac arrest that put his life in danger. But what was so inspirational is that the whole community came together to save his life. There just happened to be two parents in the audience that were medical professionals, Dr. Margaret Lee Lowe and nurse Julia Caringal, who immediately rushed on stage to perform life-saving CPR. There were the teachers who were on site who called 911 and helped students get off the stage and into a safe room. And these teachers also rushed to get a defibrillator that was used to shock Mr. Barton's heart back into rhythm. And then there were the first responders, our fire department and police department and paramedics. They came on scene immediately and they were able to do what they do best, and that is save lives by rushing him to the hospital where Mr. Barton got the care that he needed. And it is undoubtedly the quick actions of our parents and teachers and the work of our first responders that saved the life of Mr. Barton, allowing him to make a full recovery on his own. And it is so wonderful that he is here with us today. So I just had to come myself and thank all the heroes for what they did that night. San Marino is a strong community because of individuals like you who rush towards people who need the help. So I thank you for everything that you did to save a precious life. And so I brought certificates of congressional recognition for each of you. And but I understand we have a few more speakers first. Or how are we going to do it?
Yes. We know how busy you are, and we're so honored to have you with us. And so what I'd like to do is to ask all of our honorees to come up on stage to take a photograph with our Board of Education and Congresswoman Judy Chu, because she does have another obligation she has to get to. So we'll let her go, and then we're going.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to return to my agenda, which is 6B, approval of agenda. May I have a motion, please?
Move to approve the agenda. Second.
So moved, Mrs. Chong and Mrs. Gill, seconded for the agenda. All right, let's do roll call. Aye. Mrs. Gill? Aye. Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and the agenda has been approved. We need also approval of the minutes for December 13th, 2022 for the Board of Education meeting minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chang.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. I'd like to do roll call, Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
All right, so the minutes as read are approved. 7A, San Marino Unified School District Spotlight. So we're going to go back to our agenda. 7A is the recognition of heroic actions of employees, parents, and first responders. The Board of Education will recognize the heroic life-saving actions of employees, parents, and first responders. I want to invite Dr. Delatorre to speak. I want to go back a little bit. In 2005, 17 years ago, a group called The Fray coined and wrote a song or created a song called How to Save a Life. And it was really not an anthem, but a call for a manual on how to actually save a life through social emotional needs versus physical challenges. And the question in the song is really poignant tonight because it asks the question, had I known how to save a life? And I am not an authority on how to have saved your life, Mr. Barton, but we have a number of people in the audience that do. And so without further ado, I'd like to call Dr. Delatorre to come out and speak first. Okay.
Thank you so much, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Student Board Member Tren, and executive team. In today's day and age, it is very rare to find a single person who is willing to put themselves in danger to save another person. As a matter of fact, it's very difficult to find today someone who's willing to help another person. And it's sad for me to say that, but it is very, very true. When I heard about Mr. Barton's ordeal during the comedy sports performance, I was stunned. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that that had actually happened. And I was very, very concerned about his well-being. He's a member of our family, a very highly respected and regarded teacher. He also teaches physics, and it's very, very hard to replace a physics teacher. Thought, where are we going to get another Scott Barton? Thankfully, we didn't have to worry about that because he was able to make a full recovery. And when I talked to our fire chief, one of our fire chiefs, actually the interim city manager, he did confirm for me that Mr. Barton went into full cardiac arrest. And the only reason that I'm willing to say that publicly is because Mr. Barton has given me permission to talk about it. Otherwise, we would not be violating his HIPAA rights. And I think he's given me permission to talk about this because there are so many lessons involved in what happened for all of us as human beings. In a world that in today's day and age is so divisive, it is really, really nice to know that there are people among us who are willing to put themselves at risk to help others when they need it the most. And that night, not only was there one person who was willing to stand up and put themselves at risk to save another person's life, but there were 16 people who were selfless, humble, and acted and reacted and responded in the most impactful way to save another person's life. And I am so honored this evening to be able to recognize and to celebrate each one of them here tonight. I also want to give Mr. Barton an opportunity to say a few words as well. So I'd like to invite Mr. Barton to the stage to speak on his own behalf. Mr. Barton.
So thank you, Superintendent De La Torre, President Ryan, School Board, School Member Kelly Tren, who I saw earlier today, and executive team. Thanks for having me here today. I'll make this brief, but the first thing I wanted to say is I'm really glad I'm here for a celebration and not a memorial. So I want to say thank you to everybody that helped out. I'm not going to name all the names. But again, thank you for everything you did. I'd also like to thank my partner, Terry Bond, for everything she's done for me over the last month. And I'd like to encourage the district, the board, the high school administration to consider bringing back CPR as a graduation requirement. Several of my students have asked to be CPR trained, and some of them got trained this last weekend. And so I think that'd be something that'd be really important. But again, thanks for everything. Truly a celebration. Thanks again for everybody that helped me out.
Thank you so much, Mr. Barton. We're so pleased that it turned out the way that it did. And we hope to see you next year at Comedy Sports on stage again. Excellent. Okay, good, good. So I just also wanted to share briefly that in speaking with our wonderful, amazing parents who were in the audience that evening, the two of them that we're going to be recognizing this evening were there sort of on a whim, and they weren't planning to be there originally. So in speaking with them, it's really, truly a miracle that they were placed at the right time, at the right place to do what they did to help save Mr. Barton's life. In addition, we have 4 teachers that we're going to be honoring and recognizing this evening who acted immediately to get the help that they needed to get. We have AED devices on every single one of our campuses, multiple devices at San Marino High School. And so it was very reaffirming to know that our teachers knew exactly what to do, when to do it, where to secure the device. And then we had 2 amazing parents with medical expertise who knew how to use the device. And then we had one teacher who was actually engaged in providing CPR with the other two parents before emergency responders could get to the scene. So we are so grateful to them. We're also grateful to our firefighters and police officers for their swift action and response. We are so incredibly blessed in this community to have such esteemed professionals working for our police department and fire department that really do care and really are part of the community. The response time in San Marino is anywhere between 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, and that is amazing. That they can get to any one of our 4 schools within that brief amount of time. That is just unheard of in other communities. So we have so much to be grateful for and so much to be thankful for. So I am going to be calling up each one of the recipients tonight for a plaque and a certificate from Judy Chu's office. And I'm going to ask President Ryan to come up with me. And so as I call your name, if you would come up to get your plaque certificate and take a photograph with us, please. And then if I can have the board also come up to the photograph, that'd be great. So let's, we're going to call up our parents first. Let's start with Julia Rigo.
I'll find them. You're gonna be in the front. Yeah. So Julia is one of our amazing parents, and she happens to be a labor and delivery nurse. So right time, right place. Thank you so much, Julia, for your help. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Do we have the certificate? Oh, Julia, this is from, thank you. Okay. And next we have Dr. Margaret Lee Lowe. And Dr. Margaret Lee Lowe is a radio. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, and now we're going to move into our wonderful teachers. Let's start with Lisa Davidson. Okay, Terry Murphy. Up here, I will tell you what the plaque reads. The plaque reads, the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education presents Terry Murphy with this plaque in recognition of selfless acts of heroism, devotion to humanity, and care and concern for human life, presented on January 17, 2023. One more here. We have Daniel Hernandez.
And I told Mr. Hernandez is the one who secured the ATP device. Okay, Mr. Andrew Gale. And we can probably get Mr. Gale to teach the secret. Since we now know who definitely knows how to use the classroom. Okay, next we have, if you noticed, the fire department did get a call, and so they had to do this. And so, their chief is going to be accepting, these plaques on their behalf. Mark Donald, right?
Yes.
Yes. So this plaque is being presented to Captain Dominic Meta. We have also a plaque for paramedic Alec Martinez, paramedic Jeff Say, engineer Nathan Cobb, and paramedic Sean Stewart. Yes, that's it, right? No, but we'll have him close with one of them.
I can drop them all off tomorrow.
These two?
They're back.
That's yours too.
All right, take a look.
Okay.
Police officers.
We heard you.
Okay, good.
Go ahead. You're done.
So we'll get you to hold your, maps, and then we'll take a photograph.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, moving on to San Marino Police Department. We have. Oh, okay, Sergeant McCarroll. There's. Well, there's three. Thank you for being here this evening. On behalf of the department.
to give to each of these officers. Okay, there's 3 of these. And I can just get a photo with you. And there's another one for, okay. Yes,
All right. Wow, another round of applause for our first responders, please. All right, so 7B. This is in recognition of San Marino High School scholarship recipients. And the Board of Education would like to recognize Kalela Karingal and Kelly Trin for receiving the Posse Scholarship. So Mr. Kurtenbach will be,
Actually,
Carlo-
Assistant Principal
no, Cassam.
Carlos, yeah,
will come up. Hang on. Wait for it.
Cassam Clay, yes.
Thank you. Board President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, executive team, families, counselors. SMHS is proud to celebrate students Kelly Trin and Kalila Karingal for their admittance to the Posse Foundation to become Posse Scholars starting next year. The Posse Foundation, we'll talk a little bit about what this is, because this is a prestigious achievement that isn't bestowed upon many students. The Posse Foundation works to identify current student leaders from diverse backgrounds who might normally be overlooked by highly selective partner colleges. Posse is unique in that students from the same geographic area go to college together in a cohort of 10, or a posse. Posse believes that these diverse cohorts can lead to sustained individual and community development within their communities. Also, it's important to note, Kelly and Kalila will have a full 4-year ride to their partner universities. They'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Yeah, give them a round of applause. And they'll talk about their universities in a second. A little bit more about Posse, because this is really unique. So Posse is an extremely prestigious organization because their scholars develop their leadership skills starting now. In fact, next week, throughout their 4 years at their university with their Posse. Starting this month, they'll engage with their local Posse to prepare them for their college experience. Posse scholars are special. Over 90% of them graduate from college, 80% engage in leadership roles on college campuses, 57% are first-generation college students, and 48% of scholars pursue graduate degrees after undergrad. Callie was nominated by her internship coordinator, and Kalila was nominated by a family member. SMHS intends to promote this amazing program going forward in future years by nominating students that might be interested in this opportunity. I'd now like to invite Kelly and Kalila to come up and talk about their experience. Come on up.
Hello, I'm Kelly and I'm Kalila. And so how Posse essentially works is you go through 3 rounds of interview. The first round of interview, you do a group interview, which is where I met Kalila because we happened to be at the exact same time and day there. and you just work, they really focus on watching you and how you work as a group. The second interview is a one-on-one interview or a two-on-one interview, and you talk with the posse staff and perhaps an administrator, but they don't say anything about it. So you don't know who you're talking to. You just know they're affiliated with posse. And the third round interview, you're in a group with about 20 to 22 people. And basically, it's also another group interview. And this time you're with important people from administration like the dean and director of faculties.
Yeah, and Posse doesn't just help students during college, but they also help after and before. Like Mr. Casey said, Kelly and I are currently attending weekly pre-collegiate trainings. Basically, what they do is they help prepare us for college lifestyle and academics. We also get career coaches that will help us throughout our years. As for after college, they help us look for job opportunities, internships, and if we wish, opportunities for graduate school and how we're going to pay for that. So that's really cool. Overall, I feel like the Posse Foundation really works and it helps build independent students who are ready for the workforce. So yeah. Oh yeah, I am going to Hobart and William Smith colleges in New York City, well, Geneva, New York, and I'm going to major in psychology with the Bachelor of Science and minor in biology.
I'm going to Bucknell University in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm majoring in accounting.
We have certificates for both of you.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that did not get a plaque or certificate? Please proceed to the aisle. Like,
I feel like we should give Mr. Barton something.
Mitch Lehman, could you come on up? All right. Next we have 8, public comment. Item 8 on our agenda, the Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B. This is to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comments. First, you may submit through an online form, request to speak during the meeting via Zoom, or request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. Submit through online. The submission had to take place from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. As of this evening, there were no comments submitted. Request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. During public comment, the meeting will pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak. Raise hand function is used to take requests during public comment period. For online attendees, you may press the raise hand icon to add yourself to the queue. For phone attendees, dial *9. The speaking order will be determined based on the order of requests received. Individual speakers will be unmuted and called to speak. Is there anybody? Okay. And is there anyone requesting to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card? If there's anyone who wish, please complete the public comment card, submit the completed card to the designated drop box with the assistant to the superintendent, Ms. Jennifer Delatorre. Is there anybody? No, there's no.
There are no cards.
Anyone wishing to speak in the public? Are you going to give the 1 minute?
Yes, we're pausing for 1 minute. We are at the 30-second mark. If you'd like to make your request to speak via Zoom, please press the raise hand icon. If you're joining by phone, dial *9. President Ryan, we have no requests.
All right, thank you, Dr. Troy. And there were no public comment cards. Communication section, this is the consent section. May I have a motion to approve the consent section?
I move to approve the consent section.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Thank you, Mr. Chang. And the motion has been made for the consent section 9A to J. Roll call vote. Ms. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and our student board member, Ms. Trin. All right, motion pass. Communication section, 10A, communication report from the Board of Education. We'll start with Mrs. Gill.
Well, now that it's much more intimate in here. So like the rest of the board, I've been busy through the holidays and the new year. And the one thing I wanted to share in the interest of time is that last Friday, I participated in the student-led tour of San Marino High School because I do have a rising ninth grader, but also it was just great to see the students on campus and how well prepared and well-spoken the student leaders were. And Kelly was one of them.
Yay, Kelly.
So I just have a couple of pictures. It looks like you can't see them very well. These are just two of the student leaders. Next one. There is our closing question area and the students there. I think it looks great that they're all wearing their matching sweatshirts. There are some really cool things around campus that I didn't realize they had, like this giant calendar that everybody can look at. I think it's so fun and useful. During finals, people put up, take what you need, and it's inspirational and motivational encouragement things that you can take for what you will help you mentally. And then there were some great art projects. Those are actually blocks of plaster over nylon, and it's to represent movement. So anyway, it was great.
Wow, thank you for that. Mrs. Chong.
So I also attended the holiday shows last winter break, and then I listened to the CSBA's 2023 Governor's Budget Breakdown webinar. So if anybody wants that, they put it up. Shelley's like, no. So if anybody wants that, I have that link and I can forward that to anyone who wants to spend an hour and a half listening to it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Chong and Mr. Chang.
In the December, I also attend the Carver and the Valentine holiday music program. That's wonderful. And also, I was trying to observe, the first week of the student attendance, and because of the international factor, so I was kind of worried, what happened will impact to our student, because some of students, they have travel in the international overseas. But look like first week we are smoothly, yeah. So I think that's good sign. And also I like to report on behalf of Mr. Aaron Chen. He's Chinese Cup of San Marino this year president. Due to the last year, the city of San Marino human resource, they are doing emphasizing the DEI. So finally they have a conclusion. So they like to have the first Lunar New Year celebration. So then they pass this assignment to Chinese Cup San Marino. I think this is the good motivation to make the entire city resident to have a second time enjoy for the new year. So this event will happen on the Saturday, January 28, from the 10 a.m. to the 2 p.m. at the Lacey Park. So every resident welcome. I think I already reviewed their program. I believe this probably one of the best quality celebration in the Southern California. So please come to join, enjoy. Thank
Wow.
you.
Thank you for that reminder, Mr. Chang. Can you also speak on January 21st, what's happening with Chinese school and their?
Oh, yes, the Chinese school, they like to extend the invitation to everyone, every board member and the executive staff will be at the, I think the middle school. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chang. So lots of celebrations. For me, just to report, it's very short this month. I did attend the San Marino High School Orchestra performance, and then winter break, much needed, relaxing and rejuvenating. And on January 6th, the weekend, I attended the City Club retreat with Dr. Choi was there as well. And then on January 10th, worked with the Asian Pacific Islanders School Board Members Association in looking at student mental health. And so we've got some exciting things to be sharing coming soon in the spring. All right, with that, next communication from our award-winning Kelly Trin, our student board member.
Yeah, so at Carver, they had on December 16th, they had a field trip. So fourth graders went to San Juan Campesino. On December 21st, the TK kindergarten and first grader, Carver's TK kindergartner and first graders had their holiday music program. And yesterday, from grades 3 to 5 in Carver, they had their interim testing. And Valentine, on the 15th of December, they had their holiday concert named Rocking California Holiday. And in the HMS auditoriums with grades TK to second and with a special performance by the fifth graders. And both elementary schools received the 2023 California Distinguished School Award. So congratulations.
Yay, our principals are here in the audience.
And then HMS had their Winter Visual and Performing Arts Assembly on the 16th of December. And tomorrow they will have their Good Citizenship Breakfast, and the theme for this quarter is honesty. At San Marino High School on the 19th of December, Link Crew had a coca and creme. It's where ninth graders met with their Link Crew leaders and they help advise on how to study for the semester 1 finals. On the 9th of this month, we had a lockout drill to prepare and discuss what to do in that occasion or that situation. On the 11th of this month, we had our electives, AP and honors fair. It's where current students and teachers gathered in the quad to advise and talk to incoming or potential AP honors or elective students. And on the 14th, we had an e-waste drop-off event. And I think it was like a fundraiser event. So some proceeds went to San Marino High. And on the 17th, we started our junior counseling meeting for rising seniors.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So 10C is communication from Dr. Linda Delatorre, our superintendent.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education executive team. Dr. Choi is pulling up some photographs that I'd like to share with the Board of Education related to the recent rains that we have been experiencing. And we have had some problems that are storm related in terms of flooding and leaks. And I'm going to turn around so that I can see which slides we're going to be showing. Sorry. What position? Oh, no, it's back. So if you can go to the first slide, Steve. Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. So the reason the presentation, and it's not really a presentation, it's just a series of photographs that I wanted to make sure that the board would be able to look at and view. And actually, you're not going to be able to see very clearly. Can we turn down the lights any more than that? I was hoping that you'd be able to see the dark spot on the carpet here. Oh, yes, now you can. So this dark spot here, that's all water. So it was completely saturated. That's Huntington Middle School. So if you've been into the Huntington Middle School office, and if you have been all the way back where Mr. Duranzo sits, he is the school psychologist for Huntington Middle School. And to the right of him is the office door for Assistant Principal Mary Hazlett. So that is quite a distance that the water was able to permeate through the carpeting, and flooding is a problem in the Huntington Middle School administration building. We believe because there's not enough drainage in the concrete right in front of the office doors. Those double doors there, the water comes in underneath them and just completely saturated the carpeting, and it had to be dried out. Let's go to the next slide. So here you see our maintenance and operations director, Mr. Gil Cardenas, and I believe that's Dr. Lynn. And Daryl was running around somewhere, Principal Topolian. And our maintenance and operations crew is actually pumping water out of the Huntington Middle School basement. So there was a broken window. And we later realized that window actually shattered because of pressure that was building up in the basement and allowed all that water to get down in there. And there is a pump that exists in the basement that wasn't working properly to get that water out. So we had about a foot of water in the Huntington Middle School basement, which subsequently damaged some of the electrical equipment in there, including a transformer that was damaged and caused a problem with our power, and our internet went down for some time. And thank you to Dr. Choi, who scrambled to get that back up for us. But it really was quite a project to get that water out of the basement, and we're still assessing what the damage might be down there. And thank you to Director of Maintenance and Operations, Gil Cardenas, and his crew for really working hard that day to get all of this taken care of. Next slide. So we had a couple of classrooms at Huntington Middle School, actually 3 classrooms that were flooded, room 102, room 202, room 303. So we had to redirect our students to other areas on the campus where they could learn and still receive instruction. And one of those areas was the library. And you can see that the kids are very comfortable in that learning space. So we really did have minimal disruption to education that day, even though we did have some pretty major problems. So we had the basement, the front office, those 3 rooms. And here you can see one of the rooms that was completely flooded, and you can just see the outline here. So the majority of the carpet is completely saturated in that room. Okay, next slide. That's just another view. So what we found is that we do have gutters that are working, and the gutters have a drainage pipe that comes down, and it comes down and the water is just pooling. You can see to the right of that slide, that wet area right there, it's just pooling, and there's no drain there. So it doesn't go anywhere. And then the water builds up, comes over that curb and into the classrooms. So that's part of the problem. We need to add several drains in those areas. We need to make sure that we're cleaning out the gutters, and they have been cleaned out this year. And the water was coming down. It didn't have anywhere to go. And so that's part of our problem that we're going to be looking at remedying. And there's another flooded area at Huntington in that corridor. Next slide. We also, sorry, Whitney. Whitney had some flooding in her office. So she has some damaged ceiling tiles and some moisture up there in the attic that we're going to need to take care of. And you can see that's a Carver Elementary School. There is a leak in room, I think it was 31 in the ceiling. Yeah. So Carver, Carver's staff lounge, go to the next slide. Was completely soaked, which this is the, is this a computer lab? Teacher workroom. Okay. Yeah. So the teacher's lounge was flooded. Which actually was interesting because there was so much debris that was coming in from outside. It wasn't just water, it was sort of muddy and there were leaves and little insects. So I said it could be some kind of a science project for the kids actually, but I don't know if Mr. Caldwell found that amusing or not. Yeah, so you can see here where the carpet is completely saturated from that flooding. Next slide. So then we went up to the high school and upstairs where the English department is housed. There was a lot of flooding up there. Next slide. And, oh, this is going back to Carver. Room 31 had a leak and you can see the damage on the ceiling tiles there. Keep going. Same room. Keep going. And in the library. Yes, in several areas in the library. So we're going to have a roofer come out and repair those areas where the water is pooling on those beams on the ceiling. Next slide. Oh, that's it. So we have several areas in our school district where we're going to have the roof repaired. The basement is an issue that we're going to be addressing going forward. The reason that this auditorium is not heated this evening is related to the flooding in the basement. And right, where's Gil? Did he leave? Oh, I thought you would have left for this presentation, but here you are. Thank you for being a good sport, Gil. So that basement is an ongoing problem that we're going to be addressing, but Gil has been very, very good about looking into that and making sure that we can get those things corrected as soon as possible. And now that the weather is expected to be drier for several days, I think we're going to have an opportunity to remedy that. But you should know that we do have aging facilities and that there are some issues that we're going to have to address, which are going to be quite costly. But we will keep the board apprised of our plan to do that. And I'm looking forward to the Facilities Advisory Committee meeting on the 26th. I think that that's going to be a great group of stakeholders that can help guide some of this work going forward. So thank you so much. Does the board have any questions for me on any of those things? Sure.
Is running good?
The heat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
For the
haven't heard
student?
any problems with the heat except for here. Yeah. So yeah, we haven't had any problems with the heat. As you know, we had the problem with the air conditioning earlier in the year at Carver Elementary School when one of the compressors went out and we had to dismiss kids at Carver early. It was right in the middle of the heat wave that we were having. And so it was just very uncomfortable in those classrooms, but we did get that up and running. And so we got that repaired for the time being, but it's going to be an ongoing problem.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said the basement window is getting pressure from inside the
Yes.
basement?
And I will let
And
Dr. Lin explain that.
So there's a. Can you hear me okay? Oh, there we go. So HMS is actually in room 114, which is the orchestra room. So that window was somehow pushed out, this internal pressure. So there were multiple things happening, flooding, there were leaks in the ceiling. The window somehow got pushed out. We have transformers in the basement that were flooded, but didn't pop, but one of them popped. The smallest one popped, which explains, as Dr. De La Torre said, there's no heat here. We have one compressor in the basement in this school that we're going to test before the weather gets hotter, as to board member Chan's question. Not so much the heating, but maybe the AC piece. We don't know if that compressor is going to work, but we don't want to test it now. We're going to have to let it dry. But to the question about the window, it's in the orchestra room where somehow pressure from the inside pushed that window out. We saw debris, glass debris outside.
So it
And-
wasn't damaged by Are you sure it was pressure? I mean, it seems strange.
There's, we didn't see any footprints of anybody coming from the inside during the weekend. The whole frame came out. And, you know, it's talking about a science experiment. We're trying to like deduce what exactly happened. How did this happen? You know, was somebody trapped in it?
Well,
No.
do we
it
have
was a-
video?
No, we have a photo, but imagine it's an upper pane. So why would anybody, if somebody's in there, climb like, 8, 10 feet high and push that out? So we don't know why. The only, possibility is that there's pressure from the inside. The pressure inside was higher than the pressure outside. And the whole frame came off. It's not just the glass pane. Right, Gil? Yeah.
Thank you.
So also, I forgot to mention the counseling office at San Marino High School was also flooded and there was water coming down from the speakers in the ceiling. And so that's not a good sign. But because the second level where the English classrooms are housed was flooded, I'm sure a lot of that water was coming from that area. But there's electricity that's running, in the ceiling area where those speakers are. And so that's going to be an issue as well that we have to address.
Do we have any activities coming up in this auditorium?
Inside this auditorium? Musical, when is that? So hopefully we'll get it fixed by then.
And Founder's Day is in here?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Or no, it wasn't Founder's Day moved to the high school?
Oh, because we did it at the high school in the past, so maybe it'll be at the high school again.
I thought they were talking about
Okay.
having it at the high school again, but I'm not 100% sure.
So maybe double check with
Yeah.
them.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Gil.
Alrighty.
Where did you go? There you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Delatorre. Is there anything further? No, that's all right. Thank you. So I'd like to call the end to our meeting. The meeting is adjourned.
Information
No.
item,
No?
California dashboard.
Oh, one more?
One more.
Yes.
11.
Dr. Richter. I asked, okay. So sorry.
You tried, Shelley, you tried.
So.
Would you like me to postpone it? till the
Okay,
next-
let there be light. All right,
Please
thank
leave me
you.
in the dark.
Thank you. So 11A is 2022's California Dashboard Overview. Dr. Lena Richter will present the board with a 2022 California Dashboard.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, student board member, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, and exec team. Tonight, I'm pleased to present the board with a brief overview of the recently released 2022 California School Dashboard. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the presentation tonight is to provide the board with an overview of the California Dashboard reporting measures, highlight district and state reporting, and share areas of focus and strength for San Marino Unified School District. And lastly, share a few actionable next steps. Thank you, Dr. Choi. The California School Dashboard is a tool that shows how school districts and schools are performing on state and local indicators that are included in the California School Accountability System. Beginning with the 2022 California School Dashboard. Oh, I think we're on the previous slide, Dr. Choi. Yes, no, previous. One more. Are we missing a slide? Slide number 3. That's okay, I will continue and we'll just stay on slide number 4. Beginning with the 2022 California School Dashboard, federal and state requirements to hold schools and school districts accountable for student outcomes is being restarted after the little brief pause with the COVID-19 pandemic. Because Assembly Bill 130 restricts the California Department of Education to only use 2021-22 school year performance data, this year's dashboard will only display status data for each applicable state indicator. Change data, the difference from 1 year prior to the current year, will not be reported on this dashboard. Reporting status only signifies that each district, school, and student group will receive one of 5 status levels, being either very high, high, medium, low, or very low for each applicable state indicator, as shown right there in the middle on this slide. The California School Dashboard includes state and local indicators. For state indicators listed on the left side of this slide, schools and districts will receive one of the 5 status levels on each state measure. For the 2022 dashboard, the levels are reflective of the performance of students achieved last year, the 21-22 school year. For indicators listed on the right side of this slide, districts receive one of 2 ratings for each of the local measures, met or not met. And student information is not available for the local measures. Okay, Dr. Choi, we're one slide. No, you can go back to the other slide. Yeah, we're going to stay right there. This slide displays 21-22 performance data for San Marino Unified using the state and local measures as reported on the dashboard. And as you can see, it's using the 5 status indicators, starting from very high to very low. And for local indicators, met or not met. Based on the 22 California School Dashboard, we are extremely pleased to see that San Marino Unified demonstrated strong performance on every state indicator. District-wide for ELA and math and graduation rates were all reported at very high. Points from standard, as you can see, it shows 90 for ELA, it has 95.5 points above standard. The point from standard or distance from standards represents the distance between a student's score on the SBAC, the Smarter Balance Assessment, and the standard met achievement level threshold. In other words, the lowest score or scale score for a level 3, which would indicate that the student met that standard. The scale score ranges for the Smarter Balance Assessments vary, as we know, by content area and by grade level for ELA and math. Also reporting of high for the English Learner Progress Indicator, and that is based on the annual LPAC assessment that our English learners take. Before reviewing the remaining 2 indicators, it's important to note that the status levels associated with chronic absenteeism and suspension rate indicators are reversed, ranging from very low all the way to very high. So in other words, these are the 2 metrics that we do want to score very low on. As such, we are pleased to see that San Marino demonstrated strong performance in these 2 indicators as well by earning low for chronic absenteeism and very low for suspension rate. San Marino also received met on all 5 of the local indicators, as we see on the right hand of this slide for the 21-22 school year. The district's performance on all performance indicators, state and local, is commendable and worth highlighting. Despite the various challenges of last year, COVID-19, the Omicron virus, positivity rates, quarantining, independent study, and so on, our district continued to demonstrate strong performance across both state and local measures, and the California School Dashboard this year substantiates this effort. It is a testament to the work that our teachers, classified staff, and administrators, students, and parents do each and every day. We'll go to the next slide. So the next few slides display state performance standards by school. And here we see the reporting for Carver Elementary. Again, we are pleased to see strong reporting for each of the state standards. Math and ELA, very high. English Learner Progress Indicator, very high. Oh, I'm sorry, making progress. 72% of students making progress. Chronic absenteeism, low, and very low for suspension rate. Next slide. We'll move on to Valentine. Similarly, Valentine demonstrates strong reporting for each of the state indicators as well. Math and ELA, very high. English Learner Performance Indicator, making progress. And here we earned a low status. So we are definitely looking into why our English learners were not making as much progress here. Chronic absenteeism, medium, and very low for suspension rate. After reviewing dashboard reporting for our elementary schools, I would like to emphasize that every one of our elementary schools in San Marino, Carver and Valentine, received the 2023 California Distinguished School Recognition for their excellent academic achievement. So I would like to personally, on behalf of the executive team and Dr. Delatorre, congratulate once again Carver and Valentine for earning this recognition. The California Distinguished School recognizes school for their excellent work in one of two categories, closing the achievement gap and achieving exceptional student performance. To identify California Distinguished Schools, the California Department of Education uses multiple measures to identify eligible schools based on their performance on state indicators as specified on the California School Dashboard. This year specifically, elementary schools are being recognized and were selected by analyzing data reported through the 2022 dashboard. This includes assessment results, chronic absenteeism, suspension rates, and socioeconomic data. So congratulations to those two schools. Once again, we're very proud. This next slide displays dashboard reporting for Huntington Middle School, which also demonstrates strong progress for each of the state indicators. Math and ELA, once again, very high. The English Learner Progress Indicator, they did not receive a rating. And the reason they did not is because to receive a rating, you have to have 2 consecutive years of LPAC data. If you have 30, and you must have 30 or more students. Last year, Huntington Middle School did not have 30 English language learners, so they are not receiving a level this year, but they continue to do very, very well on English Learner Progress. Chronic absenteeism is low and suspension rate is also low. Lastly, we have reporting for San Marino High School, which is similar to all of our other schools. Math and ELA, very high. English Learner Progress, almost 67% making progress. And they did earn a low status for this. And so this is also a school that we're looking at for our English language learners to see if we can help promote academic achievement and language literacy. Chronic absenteeism is low and low for suspension rate as well for San Marino High School. The next slide, as we look at our strengths and our focus for this year, overall, we're pleased to see strong performance in state and local measures as reported on the dashboard. And on this slide, included under each state measure, we can also see overall reporting of the state. Our areas of strength listed on the left side include ELA, very high, 95.5 points above standards, district-wide. That's commendable. Math also very high, 83 points above standard. Again, very commendable. English Learner Progress, high, as reported on the California School Dashboard. Graduation rate, very high, 96%. Chronic absenteeism, remember we want a low status for this, and we achieved low. Suspension rate, very low. So based on the reporting measures from the 2022 dashboard, areas of focus include continued focus and growth in ELA and math for our students with disabilities, as listed on the right side of this screen. More detailed reporting either by school or student group can be found and reviewed on the California School Dashboard website. So what does this mean for us now? What are our next steps? With the release of the dashboard, San Marino will remain focused on next steps to ensure continued performance and growth for all student groups. District and individual schools have received and have analyzed their data and have begun identifying supports and supplemental learning opportunities and instructional materials that best support all learners. Listed on this slide are just a few of these supports and opportunities. So for example, implementation of instructional best practices and strategies. District-wide, we are continuing to implement universal design for learning so we can differentiate instruction and meet students where they are, make instruction relevant, and move them forward. Targeted and data-driven professional development district-wide on instructional best practices. Diagnostic assessments and data analysis continue. We have our school sites who are administering the SBAC interim assessments to measure and gauge where student performance is at this point of the school year and be able to provide interventions and supports moving forward. Targeted interventions across the board at every school site, during school, after school, and even during summer school, which is the next one. Extended learning opportunities, district and school collaboration. We are constantly in collaboration with each of our school sites, our administrators, and our teachers to best provide support in best instruction and first instruction. School program and data presentations. We are going to our school sites and providing data presentations, whether it be on the budget, English learner progress, CASP reporting, to ensure that our sites are well informed of where they stand with regards to student performance, and they can put actionable next steps in place to continue on that trajectory of progress. And then lastly, our schools, as we all know, have identified important goals, which we call WIGs, are wildly important goals, and those are aligned to our board priorities and our local control accountability plan. And all of those are really focused on professional development, cultivating a flourishing learning environment, and ensuring that all of our students can achieve academically and differentiate instruction to make sure that we're meeting kids where they are and moving them forward from that point. These are just a few of the steps that we have in place, and I know our schools have put a number of different interventions and supports in place, but they were too many to list on this slide. And the last slide, thank you. That concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them at this point.
I had one question, well, two questions that are related. So I know that we're playing a little bit of catch up from the pandemic. So my question is, with the interim assessments and the diagnostics, how much of that is infringing on instructional time to be able to sort of, because I feel like we're sort of starting behind a little bit with what the kids came in with. And so there's a little bit of catch up from that. And then to do some of the interim assessments, as important as they are, how much of that might be infringing, because I don't want us to end up in an effort to work on those assessments. I don't want it to create a backlog that's going to then put us behind for next year.
Right. No, that's a very important question. And I think it's really important to remember that when we utilize assessments like our diagnostic assessment or CASP interim assessments, it's really important to identify the value of those assessments. We cannot continue to provide relevant and appropriate instruction if we don't know what the needs of our students are. And so it will take a little bit of time to administer those assessments, but the data that's gleaned from those assessments are invaluable, because at that point with that data, we can really identify student groups, individual or a number of students, the standards that they need additional support in, and then be able to provide the appropriate supports, whether it's interventions before school or after school, whether it's reteaching the curriculum, whether it's providing small group instruction, all the supports available. But without that information, we don't know where they're going with regards to progress. And so that information is extremely valuable, and it will take time, but I think the dividends that those assessments will pay is priceless.
So then because it kind of becomes a problem with, then if teachers need to have that time to really look at that data, but then are we still struggling with some of the substitute shortages? Is that, are they being given that time and opportunity to really dig into that so they can figure out where those gaps and holes are?
And we have teacher curriculum days that can be utilized for data analysis. We do have support from our administrators and our TOSAs who actually disaggregate that data and do provide it to our school sites, and the principals pass it on to their teachers. So some of that heavy lift is being done so that they can focus on really identifying those students and providing the appropriate supports and putting them in place.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I don't think we should gloss over the English learner progress scores. I mean, even though we're high for the state, if the state's at 50%, that's just not acceptable either. So if you're comparing yourself to something that's substandard, it doesn't mean that we're actually doing well with it, right?
Correct.
So do we have a goal for like a metric to get to a certain number within a certain amount of time? And also, are we going to be ready for the dual language immersion? I mean, that's language that they need. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
So I'm going to address the first part of your
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
I don't know if we can, if, our intention is to set a goal by the end of the year, but we definitely want to ensure that our English learners are making progress. Even though they didn't score as high as we wanted them to score, but they scored above the state, we're San Marino Unified. We're not going to compare ourselves to the state. We want them to show progress and grow. And so a lot of work has been done these last 2 years to, one, strengthen our English learner instructional program, to provide our teachers with professional development so that they can deliver best first instruction and differentiated instruction based on the English language development standards. And that has continued up to this date. We have gone to school sites and done provided presentations to the entire faculty to provide an overview of the entire ELD program, English language development program, from identification all the way to reclassification. Danielle Blatchley, who oversees LPAC, which is the annual language assessment that our English language learners take each year. She's done a lot of work with teachers personally, going out and supporting our teachers. We are in the process of looking at piloting a new curriculum for ELD to really strengthen the ELD instruction that's happening at the middle school and high school in the designated ELD class.
Okay. Was part of that deficiency from masks because they can't see the mouths to learn English as well?
I don't believe it is. Personally, I don't believe it is. We have a lot of English learners that have come enrolled in San Marino Unified with coming in at level 1 with limited English proficiency. And so it just depends on where the level of proficiency our English learners are bringing to school. Sometimes we have a very small number of English learners at the beginning level. Sometimes we have, the bubble is more at the expanding and bridging level. So it depends on where they are. But the best approach for us would be, kind of, I hate to say the shotgun approach is we want to provide as much interventions as we can. And that means strengthening the instructional program, providing summer school, providing our teachers with professional development. So we're approaching it at all angles to make sure that we're supporting our English learners.
Besides California dashboard data, I think we are good, but you know what, as I know, the outsider, when they choose the school, they are based on what they believe. Like definitely they probably will review the California dashboard, and besides that, they have the sum of the survey, such as like a NIC or whatever. Because I would like to point out, the outside of this community, when they choose the student, their kid, to decide which school they want to study or they want to move in. So they look at those data. So I would like encourage our district administrator, also look at always keep informed, the review those data, because the rest routinely I will always been asked about why we are not the number 1, or I know some we cannot be because we are the small school district, so we may not have that kind of resource, but that's very important. Like sometimes I got an international phone call. They are asking is that we are the score 10 or the 9 or 8 because they are in Shanghai, or they want to know which the elementary school is the best in California. That may not be accurate, but I just want to point out, when we are talking about the enrollment decrease, I think that also is a kind of not the official indicator, but some of the parents, they rely on those data.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when we look at data through all the
Yeah.
different platforms, we have to proceed with caution because they use different metrics for
Yeah.
each reporting
Yeah.
system.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to double check to make sure I've not missed anything on the agenda. And thank you for the lights. All right. So with that, I'd like to adjourn.